live. Welcome to Live Action Roleplay with
Kai Nolan
and Ryan Omega. Sin is on a business trip to San Francisco. We love you. We will catch you soon. And say hi to Chris for us. And we have a few guests for today. Introduce yourselves, please.
Oh, hi. My name is Ash Minnick. I am... I'll talk about myself, yeah. Okay. I'm part of an online streaming group called the Uncommon Trust, so we do RPGs on the onlines. I am a producer at Geek and Sundry. Mostly we're just working on Game to Game and How to Play. You should check that out. They're great shows. I also produce I'm the event producer for an event called D&D in a Castle, which has it has 3 announced events next year, this year, but stay on the mailing list. There's a bunch of other events that are happening. They're currently secret, so if you go to dndinacastle.com, you can play D&D in a castle in England and maybe other countries. Secrets.
Hi, I'm Quentin Johnston. I am not famous whatsoever. However, I am well known amongst the SoCal community for LARP. I play in a wide variety of games, from Twin Mask to Arcane Ascension. Currently, I'm on the staff for a new game starting up called Apocalypse 47. It's a new post-apocalypse LARP that's coming up. Really excited for that, so go ahead and check it out at Apocalypse 47 on Facebook, or apocalypse47.com.
I'm Kevin. I'm actually pretty new to the SoCal LARP scene, but I've enjoyed the months I've gotten to spend amongst some of these games. I've been at Twin Masks a few times. I've been to a couple of the Strategicon conventions, which I think OrcCon is coming up soon, and I'll be GMing some LARPs there. And then in April, I'm really excited about helping put together a sort of miniature LARP festival. It looks like we're going to be in Highland Park. It's called Cozy LARP Con, so keep an eye out for that, for sure.
All right. What is everyone drinking today?
I am drinking some cream soda because I may or may not be trash.
Oh, I've got chocolate milk because I am not trash. I am magic.
I'm drinking Bang Energy Drink because I hate myself, and I love entropy, so yeah, it's a great time.
Have the sparkling water captured in the south of France with a hint of lime added.
Ooh, fancy. And I'm drinking Bragg Organic Apple Cider Vinegar All Natural Drink. Ginger spice.
I would say that you almost hate yourself more than I hate myself, just by comparison.
That's true. I like to feel my throat and stomach burn.
Oh, man.
Are you meant to shake that? There's a lot at the
Yeah,
bottom.
there's a lot of... For those of you who can't see, which is everyone, there's a lot of sediment in Ryan's drink.
Yeah, I think you're
supposed
to shake
okay.
You do not want to drink that full.
Okay, I did shake it earlier, but I think it just wanted to settle because it hates life.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
As most things that settle do.
Yes.
Big mood.
Shaking off to the side in the meantime. All right. Shoutouts. Does anybody have any shoutouts that they want to give?
I do. I actually want to give a shout out to my good friends Bob and Kate Elliott. I know a lot of folks, maybe y'all know them. They recently got engaged in Poland at a LARP, and I helped with the whole proposal thing, and it was just like a super, super amazing, specific and interesting LARP experience. So yeah, shout out to them. And congrats.
I want to shout out Josephine Hyde, an awesome person that just exists within the LARP community. They're a good person and a good being, and I just appreciate their friendship so much. So yeah, you can find them on fin.ammon at any point on any of their social media channels. They're a good friend, good person, recommend them. 10 out of 10.
I also recommend them. They're my castmate on Dacian Prats.
Oh, so, yeah,
yes.
I am actually not going to recommend them because of some in-game stuff going on between our characters at Twin Mask. But yeah, they are actually great. A fantastic role player, and the conflict we've got going has turned out to be a lot of fun. I will give a shout out to a group called the Games Theater, which I just actually spent the first weekend of 2019 playing a sort of blockbuster mega game in what was pretty dang close to being a castle in America on the East Coast. They're doing a lot of neat stuff with LARP and sort of tabletop and using Jenga blocks to represent and simplify missions and things to go on with characters. It was a mix of gaming and theater. So the Game Theater is what those guys are called. They've got some neat things coming up this year and the months ahead. So
Cool. I don't have any shout-outs right now. We've got plenty of guests, so I'm going to leave the spotlight to them this time around.
Okay. I'm going to give my shout out to my friend Eddie Rose, who plays a half demon in Twin Mask, but he's also one of my players in my local D&D experimental game, and he and Rachel English and Ruben Bressler are amazing role players, and oh my god, I can't wait to talk about this game more, but they're my guinea pigs, and I love them. Thank you for being my D&D game.
What makes your D&D game experimental?
What makes it experimental is that a lot of people focus on having a setting. My game has no setting. My game requires my players to tell me what the setting is for every description, and I create encounters based off of whatever they give me. So
It's like Hillfolk.
yeah, it's very much like Hillfolk, but has a lot of D&D mechanics. So, but
awesome.
yeah, which you would know Hillfolk for obvious reasons.
Because I'm obsessed.
Yes.
But yeah. Over impressed for life. Sorry.
So the topic for today's podcast is how to fail and have fun doing it. And the reason why
Speaking of Hillfolk.
the reason why I picked that topic was because one of the things that I do in my day job is SEO research, which is search engine optimization. And so out of curiosity, one of the topics that I looked up was LARP and all the derivations of what people look for associated with LARP. A lot of it also has to do with like how to make a LARP weapon is one of the popular topics. But one of the biggest ones is how to win at LARP is one of the most searched phrases that I've seen in the research. And I kind of want to turn it on its head because I know that between Kai and Sin and I, one of the things that we always say is you don't win at LARP. So in order to talk about that, how do we talk about how do you fail and have fun doing it? So I posed that to everybody here at the table.
I think this is a great topic because it's something that it comes up in tabletop a lot too, where it's just like people get very, very caught up in having their character win because they get invested in their character and they want to win. And I think the in LARP and tabletop, the most fun thing to do is to have a sort of separation between you and your character, so that your character can go on this journey, and even if they like lose all their family or like have these devastating circumstances happen to them, like you get to sort of step outside yourself and experience the drama of that without like actually I don't know, it's just I like the idea of letting your character go on a journey and having it be as dramatic as possible. And if you don't have conflict, you don't have good story. And so it's that's my thought.
I mean, I have an unpopular opinion that winning sucks. You learn things by losing, and there's no... A lot of people, at least like me, I like to LARP to learn, so I like to learn about new things or experience new things, and like get in a different mindset of things. And there's no learning in always having the easy route, and there's no like learning in just winning over and over again. So I think that losing's awesome, and it's just fun to lose in LARP sometimes, just to have that learning experience.
I think winning's really hard, right? It's like too much effort, almost even in some games where you're getting mobbed by zombies or trolls, and they're just relentlessly coming and coming. So yeah, there's by losing a game, by making that choice that is the wrong choice, that can often open up new avenues to collaborate in a story, and that's always led to some really fascinating choices in the games I've played since I've started to experiment and sort of play to lose or play to fail more in games.
Yeah. I know Sam DeLev, who's in the group with me, but also does a lot of Geek and Sundry stuff. They are awesome to play with and to GM for, because that's they love losing. Like, they love having sort of a what is the phrase, like a flawed character that in Hillfolk, and so I'm running a game right now of Hillfolk with them, and they've created this society that part of it is a worship of fire, and so Sam decided that their character would have a fear of fire so that they could try to deal with that, and I was like, yeah, okay, sure, yeah. And I think it's just such a strong choice to be like, no, I want my days to suck whenever we have a ritual, and it's so brave to constantly push that and explore that.
So, I would say, when it comes to, what was the exact phrasing that you were using, Ryan?
So, how to fail.
How to fail. So, I feel like it's almost kind of it's not exactly how to fail, but it's more like, at least how I view it, it's more embracing the fact that you can fail and not being afraid of your failures. Because as exciting as it is for your character to constantly reach a new peak of being amazing, and you never really want your character to plateau where they've just got nothing else to do. When you have big failures, those can be incredible turning points. And sometimes those failures aren't really even your own responsibility there. It's just something bad that happens to your character. But a lot of the terminology that I've heard between LARPers is they like to call their characters suffer puppets. There's a lot of games, Twin Mask and Dystopia Rising in particular, but I don't know many LARPs that don't actually kind of give you a lot of turning point in character development when you either get to a near-death situation, or in some of those games where you have multiple lives, you actually die. And those deaths can be really pivotal moments for you. And they can really cause, I think, far more definition in a character. How a character acts when they lose versus how a character acts when they win. I think one of them has far more drama involved within it.
And I'll say that, at least for the games mentioned, Twin Mask and Dystopia Rising, that sometimes death is the best plot you can ever get. Because, there are some points when you want to be the star of a show. It's the natural human want to be the star of a show, and death gives you that avenue to kind of be like, hey, this is about me for about maybe 3 to 5 seconds. But I shout out to the Twin Mask staff. The dying scenes are always so much fun, and even in any kind of LARP where death is really stressful or traumatic, it's amazing to see people come back from that and to have essentially a failure moment, but turn it into such a big moving point for the character that they learn from and that they acted differently for. It's the best character development you can do is just by dying.
Yeah.
So
it's also sorry.
No, you're fine.
I was gonna say it's also so cathartic. I feel like we're so emotionally suppressive in our culture sometimes that
Words are hard.
Yeah, totally. So are emotions. But it's so great to sort of, it's almost like, it is this escape where you can go and you can feel all the feels and be like, and yell at people and cry and it's fine. And everybody there is super accepting of just yeah, we're feeling all the feels together. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
It's remarkably powerful in Twin Mask and DR. The people that come rushing to your character when you get resurrected or you come back alive or you come out of the morgue or however your LARP might define the ways that people come back to life after they've died, seeing the characters who rushed to your side or were there waiting at 5 a.m. in the morning and watching the sun come up as they're waiting for you to come back, that gives you a really good impression for your character. And sometimes as a player, who your friends are there. And it can result in some amazing drama and amazing storytelling. So, like, dying or failing doesn't necessarily make the game bad at all, in my opinion, at least.
You know, and failing not only can occur at death, but also can occur at, in a strange way, birth. People are afraid to do very risky character concepts, like, this character concept's dumb. I should do it. But that's kind of like what's been fun about playing characters that people just assume are throwaway characters. Like, this character's not going to survive and it's going to end up living for 4 years.
Yeah.
Because it's the character that you kind of figured has no chance, and therefore you put in so much risk into it. So I keep thinking about my alt, Contaboss, the half-demon of sloth, because this is a character concept that shouldn't work in a game that is very battle-heavy and oriented, that, you know, a lot of his motivation is based off of eating and sleeping, and anything that interrupts that just gets him really, really crabby and wants to kill things. And I thought, this is a guy that's not going to have any friends, and someone's going to kill him in the first 2 games, and he's still alive, and it's a fun concept to play, because I know that he's going to go at any time. He's going to piss off somebody. But he also feeds people, so it's the only reason why he's alive right now.
Give bacon, get life.
Yeah.
I've seen some. I can't remember the meme right now, but I've read a couple of variations of these memes where they show like a joke character, and then the next panel kind of fast forwards, and they're far more serious and hard boiled, but they've still got the same concept. And then like the next scene after that, they like, you know, sacrifice their life, or one of their friends dies, and they're like crying and things like that. And it's like, if you make a character and it sticks around long enough, so long as you're playing well, you're going to develop friends and enemies, and there's going to be characters that are characters and players that are going to really miss you when you're gone. And that is kind of awesome, how, like, you know, even the silliest of characters can end up just kind of connecting and building and becoming a part of the world, and then suddenly you're like, wait, I meant this character to be a joke. Now they suddenly have, like, goals and aspirations, and they're doing things, and, oh god, why am I crying? Like, yeah, like, such as LARP, it kind of creeps up on you.
Such as LARP.
And that was my Dystopia Rising character. Like, Kai and I LARPed in Dystopia Rising, and I came in, I was super young, and I played this, like, really edgy edge boy who was, like, it was the weekend after I watched Repo Genetic Opera. So I just made a character that was literally just, like, they talked in a high voice like this, and they were only focused on spleens, and they were absolutely fucking crazy. Or, freaking crazy. Language.
We don't care if you swear.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking savage.
But anyway,
I care.
Oh, okay, I'm so sorry. Children. So I played this character, and they were an absolute quack, and 2 years later, it fast forwards to when I'm crying over someone's dead body that will never come back again, and it was one of those same moments where I kind of, like, looked back on everything, where I came in as this bumbly dork, and now I'm sitting here with, like, weapons that could just murder people, crying over this dead person, going, wait, where did this path change from being a joke to being someone that actually, like, had this, like, emotional moment in a LARP that is all about breaking your spirit? Like, it was something really crazy.
Has anyone ever, like, made a character they then regretted making, or that, like, didn't work? Oh, okay.
I mean, my life is full of regrets, just casually. No, there was at one point where I think political characters are the hardest characters to play. That's just my opinion. So, like, Ryan, kudos to you. I don't know how you do it. I once made a character that was a political noble that was supposed to run an expedition, and within 3 games I was so burnt out that I retired the character because I just could not play the character. And that's a part where you can fail at things and still not play them and learn from that. Like, political isn't my style. I couldn't do it. So yeah, that's one that I immediately regret playing instantly. But it was a fun experience, and I got to learn a lot from it.
We were talking a little bit beforehand. I been fortunate enough to get over to Poland to do a couple of neat LARPs there. One of them is the College of Wizardry, which I've gotten to actually do twice.
Which ones did you go to?
I went to the 11th run and the 17th run.
Oh, you were the one right before. We were at
Yeah.
the Cow 18.
Oh, wow, nice. Yeah,
Yeah.
we're cow cousins. Awesome.
Yeah.
Cows.
Cows.
Alumni. The first time I went to 11, I was a student and I was a senior, and they write those characters for you. There's actually not... You can very much get a customized character if you have an idea, but I was like, I'm taking advantage of this experience. What are they going to give me? They gave me like a jock character. It was like the captain of my house's Fireball Dragon team, which is like sort of the Quidditch counterpart. And I was like,
Which house were you?
I was in Dorentius, the Rooster House.
You were super boring
So
in Cow 18.
we had a lot of fun at Cow 11 being a part of them. But I was the Quidditch like captain. I was like I wanted to like do magic and like drink in the tavern. I didn't want to be on the Quidditch field and pitch. So I devised very quickly like, okay, here's what. There's a magical amulet that I'm going to have that's the source of all my great athletic prowess in the game, and I'm going to gamble that away on the first night so that my character is actually now bad at the game, that for years he's been a legend at the school as like the Oliver Wood of Cow.
And Fireball is dodgeball.
It's like a weird dodgeball where people are running around the circle, and it's a lot of fun. It's pretty intense, and I was again just like wanting like the magic and to do that kind of stuff. So once I got rid of my athletic ability, my housemates were like, what is going on? We've got to get this back. And I was like, no, guys, so it's cool. I'll sit on the sidelines this year. But it turned into this whole quest for them to track down the mysterious stranger in the bar that I had lost my lucky sock to, that it just gets weirder from there.
Did you actually play out losing it? Or
Oh yeah. I lost
awesome.
it was like a rigged poker game where I knew the guy was counting cards. It was it was a lot of fun, and I ended up like sitting on the. I had this moment where they pulled me into the game, and I very clearly had no idea what I was doing, and I just made a total mockery of everything, and it was shenanigans ensued. So yeah, you just never know what where again like making that sort of wrong choice might lead you.
And but that was the first one you did.
Yeah, that was the first one.
And were you a student again for the second one?
I was actually the janitor for the second one, and that led to all kinds of craziness. That was probably the best LARP character I've ever played. So
We actually read one of your stories, and we were talking about Bob and Kate's story of their the proposal.
Yeah.
The last episode, in fact.
Oh, really?
But sorry to interrupt you.
no,
Please
that's
continue.
all right. Yeah, I very quickly after that game wrote down everything I could remember, and I kept that dear, and I sent it to Ryan when he was looking for cool
13
love
pages.
stories. Yeah,
At Cal 18, Harry Harold played, and that's his name, not his character's name. He played the janitor, and he did the same thing afterwards.
Yeah.
He wrote
Yeah.
a blog about what it was like to be the janitor, because it was such a, and he was so he was this old crotchety Englishman, and
We're not all like that.
what?
The accent.
No, he sort of played the almost like the character from Harry Potter. That's
the Filch. Yeah.
I should say older, not old,
Sure.
but yeah.
He's pretty old.
But there was so much. I don't know if you have this at yours. There were so many people that went into it with the character decision that they wanted to be not necessarily unhappy, but very conflicted.
Yeah, that kind of introduced me to the whole idea of losing the game on purpose, and the drama, the sheer drama of everything that comes from that. At the first one, I knew I was in it when I walked into the courtyard and there's a duel going on, and you look up into the castle, and there's people running by in their robes. These guys are in this duel. It turns out they were dueling over a girl, and the guy that lost in real life turns out was the husband of this girl. So he was losing on that first night, so he could win her back throughout the weekend.
Oh, that's great.
So kind of a lose-win situation there, but yeah.
My husband chose to play this character where he had lost all of, like, everybody in his village was killed and destroyed, and he was the only surviving person, and so he was, like, blamed for cursing the village. And so he was this very, like, sort of brooding, head-down sort of character. And the most interesting part of it for me is he just kind of like, yeah, I don't know, I want to be dark. So he made this decision, and he went to the NPC office, and, like, he's like, I want the guards to come yell at me. And so they had this, like, confrontation, and it just happened to have occurred. He just decided to be in the dueling competition. He won the dueling competition, and immediately after he won, the guards came out and, like, basically confronted him and called him a murderer and, like had this whole scene in front of everybody. And what was super interesting to me is that our characters were in different houses, so I didn't spend a lot of time seeing who he was hanging out with. And all of these people, like, started being like, no, and we're very protective of him. And, you know, he's, in real life, my husband, my friend was like, who are you? Who are these women? You know? But it was so interesting how quickly these strangers had become, like, these amazing friends and bought into the, you know, I mean, it's LARPing, so you buy into it immediately, but they had become caught up in his story, and were like, no, we don't believe it, we're gonna fight for you. His character's name was Vincent, and it became this whole thing, because he chose to, you know, have an entirely destroyed village, which is really dark.
I feel like, honestly, like, piggybacking off of that, like, the personal failures of certain characters creates the strongest family, like, dynamic that you'll ever find in LARPs. Like, at all. Like, I know that, at least in the Twin Mask universe, I play essentially an old Scotsman who is the grandpa to pretty much everyone else in the Scots clan, essentially. And the amount of family that we have over mutual suffering and, like, shared bad times and just essentially shared failures is so beautiful, and it creates the best tight-knit family. So, like, hearing that just reminded me totally of just how much you can bond over failure, which is kind of a dark, if you think about it, just mutual suffer puppetry. But it's so beautiful to see just people bond over loss and bad things.
It's true in real life, too.
I mean, yeah, that's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I was kind of thinking on the opposite end, with a character like Sicario, in Twin Mask, the weird part is being actually told by several people, if there was a character that actually would have been considered he won at a LARP, it would have been this guy. However, over the course of the years, like, he didn't start out, you know, victorious. Like, in fact, he was the fuck-up of the family. And the only way that he actually managed to survive and do anything was, because the thing is, the character is actually weak. He's easy to fail. But the only thing that he does is that he was a combat medic, and he goes out and he will run even when there's a lot of enemies and try to help downed people. So he's often taking a lot of risks. And then there was a point where no one wanted to talk to certain enemies. Like, okay, I'll talk to it. So I'll talk to those people. Maybe there's some kind of compromise that we'll make. So a lot of those things where people think, oh, that's foolish or that's risky, the only reason why my character is any kind of a quote-unquote winner is because he took so many risks where he loses all the time. That's the only reason why. So I feel lucky that if there's anything that I can do is use the character to help other people, you know, deal with their failures or succeed more. Like, that's the only reason why I think I quote-unquote win.
Well, and taking risks is such a big thing, because I feel like people who are new to role-playing often don't want to make, you know, risky decisions because they don't want their character to get hurt or die or whatever. And I'm playing a home game called Cthulhu, or no, sorry, Delta Green. One of those Lovecraftian things, but we're all spies.
The sci-fi one, right?
I mean...
Or is that a different one? No, that's like Cyber Thulu or something. There's a
Yeah.
lot of varieties, aren't there?
Yeah, Delta Green is where you're like a secret organization that's even more secret than government organizations.
Oh, okay.
That are just, their whole job is to get rid of all Cthulhu artifacts, basically. They're just like, cover it up, bury it, don't look at it, don't look at it.
Put a blanket on his head.
But we were...
Tentacles, go.
We have burned down so many buildings.
I feel like,
Success rate 100%.
you know, in the recent campaign that I've been playing in, called Inkwell Society on Twitch, on the D&D channel, we solve a surprising number of our problems with arson. It just seems to be a recurring thing in D&D.
Burn it is a great thing.
Yeah.
I've had many tabletop or role-playing characters that are just like, let's just burn it. And it always works out.
I feel like
And
if
if it doesn't, there's no evidence.
I feel like if you ever play a pirate, like any sorcerer character that you ever play ever, it's just there's a little bit of pyromania somewhere in there.
Yeah.
It's like let's just destroy it utterly, no evidence, no problem.
But in the Delta Green game, one of my favorite sort of side things that happened was we were at this, like, just horrifically haunted house. Like, just like above average haunt Cthulhu haunted. Like, it was like every room was a different type of terrifying. You know, it was like all these mirrors and you get sucked into it and there was like children dying repeatedly. It was just like, it was awful. Even as players, I was just like, we can't burn it. I don't know what to do. And it was all of these, like, murders had occurred there, and we got to the point where we were all stuck in this house, and one of our characters had been, like, sort of possessed, and he was the one with all the guns and all the ability to shoot, and so he was shooting us, and it was like everybody was dying around me, and I called a great old one and signed my name into their book in exchange for everyone's life back, and that they would, like, no longer haunt the house. And I was like, this is the only way I can think of to save everyone else. And so I got sucked into a void. It was fine. But it was one of those things where, like, especially in Cthulhu-type games where people are like, don't read it, don't touch it, don't do anything. It was like, it was the choice I enjoyed the most. It was like, yeah, I'll sell my soul. Fine. That's what I would do in that situation.
I got 27 in storage, it's fine.
Yeah, and then...
It's got some years on it, it's fine.
Yeah, and then the team ended up basically going through hell to rip me back into the world. And technically my soul's still gone. But,
Whoops.
but it adds all of this, like you were saying, it creates sort of this family within these characters because they're like, we've gone to hell together.
Yeah, at that point you kind of just be like, I've gone to hell and back for you. You owe me, buddy.
So, I think the last Cthulhu game I played in was a very long time ago, unfortunately. And it ended because it was like a 24-hour lock-in event. And it wasn't specifically Cthulhu. It was a whole bunch of different things. But part of that evening, I was playing this one-shot Cthulhu game. We're right at the end, and there's, like, a giant, like, hellmouth that's opening, and there's, like, tentacles coming out of the floor, and you know, the pentagram is now a giant, like, mouth that's just gnashing, and all of the cultists are screaming and being, you know, pretty pleased about everything, and everyone's running around, like, there's a grell for some reason, and, like, some of our party, again, attempted arson by rolling oil drums down into the basement of the building to then blow it up. That got rid of the zombies, but then created fire zombies. So, you know, you win, you lose. And during the absolute sheer madness that is going on of, like, the party members are just completely split out among this giant board, just wreaking havoc on themselves. I end up being like, I know what I'm going to do. My character was a private eye. I had, like, a snub-nosed little revolver, and the first time he saw an undead zombie, he became entirely, insistently determined that any zombie was actually still a person, still alive, and they were just sick. So he created a lot of kneecapped zombies because he would refuse to kill them. And be like, look, you're a danger to yourself. I'm going to have to shoot you if you don't take any. Please don't take any more steps forward, please, sir, back down, or I will shoot you. I have a license. Like, I'm a professional. Please stand down. Okay, fine. Bang. Oh God, I'm a horrible person. So yeah, there was an uncanny amount of zombies that were just slowly crawling after us, and that's how some of them also managed to catch up with us and fall down the stairs, blocking us our entranceway off. And I see the high priest, and I run and just spear him into the evil portal. I die, he dies. I don't remember what happened. I think it was considered a general victory, but like all of the monsters and things going on were not doing great for everyone else. But we stopped the ritual, I guess. Seeing as he was the only guy that had the ceremony. But yeah, like that was fun, and it was absolutely like a risk of like, I guess I'm gonna kill my character to get this done kind of thing. One-shots are really good for that. But then you've got the flip side where you're in really long-term invested D&D campaigns like Inkwell, as I mentioned, and my character is an obsessively compulsive gambler. He will gamble anything, including other party members, as was demonstrated the last game.
Oh my gosh.
I not only... So he stole the deed to a bar that belonged to a loose friend of the entire party, because he changed the will to show that he inherited the bar instead of... at the time, we did not realize it was an evil criminal syndicate that was getting that. So I absolutely made a choice, and made the wrong choice, and put myself in even more danger. So I'm now the owner of this bar. I bet the bar in a card game for a lot of money, an airship, and a villa.
All in the same game?
No, so I got the bar earlier, and then this most recent game, I bet it against someone put forward a villa into there, and someone put an airship into there.
I see. Okay.
And then they were like, yeah, but you'll need a special pilot to pilot this. I happen to have a pilot. I was like, I don't really know if I've got the manpower for that. No, wait, I have a pit fighter. And the party was split 2 and 2, like two of us playing the poker game, and the other two were on the other side of town, commencing this old boy style, like, brutal fight against a bunch of gangsters. And while that's going on, the player of that guy, Sig, is just like, looks at me, he's like, what are you doing? As I'm betting his character in this gamble to try and win. And, it was absolutely for the story process, and I was completely prepared to lose.
Did you lose?
No.
Oh, that would have been so fun, though.
So now you have an airship, a villa, and a bar, and your friends, and a pilot.
Yes.
I feel like you come out on top of there.
I did come out on top on that, but it could have gone really, really badly.
So if you Google how to win at LARPing, it's that.
Not that.
High playing.
Well, that was a D&D game. That was absolutely not a LARP. But either way, risks are important. If you're playing a LARP, don't play to win. Just play for fun. Do the dumb. Like, take a risk. See where it'll go. If you feel it's something that your character would do, give your characters flaws. Because if you play up to your flaws, sometimes they'll be so ingrained into the nature of your very character that you'll stop actively thinking that you're playing a flaw and you're just playing your character.
Yeah.
And it becomes way more organic and fun that way.
Yeah, I actually had a very similar experience with taking risks, and I feel like taking risks is the easiest way to both win and lose, depending on how it goes. There's a local game called Undying LARP, where you essentially play undead, 19, or I wouldn't say 19, what's the best way? Like colonial America, sort of, a little bit, it's hard to explain, but everyone's undead. And I play essentially an old money shitbag vampire, because that's...
As you should.
Yeah, because I like to play what I'm not, and what I'm not is rich, and therefore I like having fake money to
You are
pretend.
an old man shitbag vampire.
No.
You're just not a rich... Sorry,
Yes.
you're just not a rich one.
Oh yeah, no, of course. Yeah, that's totally how that works. So at one point, the party hit this insurmountable wall where we were trying to essentially figure out a cure for this super crazy undead plague that was killing undead everywhere. And the big enemy of the entire game is someone called the Hollow Queen, who is essentially like the inner demons in yourself personified in a physical form. So my character, being the old money shitbag vampire, was like, what's the best way to placate someone who is all of your inner desires? let's have a tea party with Satan. And so we laid out this beautiful tea party, and we invited the NPC who, Emily, bless her heart, who plays the Hollow Queen. She comes out in like a lilting southern accent and essentially just sits down for tea for about an hour, and we're essentially talking with Satan how to win against these people. And it was so risky because at any moment she could have looked at us, pointed it, and snapped her fingers, and we would have been like an NPC essentially at that point. We would have been under her thrall super quick. But instead, we were able to like essentially diplomacy around the situation to where we essentially only sold a little bit of our souls. You know, who cares about a little bit of our souls?
An eighth, it's fine.
Yeah, you know, like it's
You got 7 more of them.
yeah, exactly. And we actually were able to take a risk and succeed. But that success also came with failures because we failed the people around us because we essentially conceded to Satan in a weird roundabout way. So even
was at a tea party.
I mean, yeah, we had chamomile tea. It was totally fine. So I feel like even sometimes when you succeed, you also fail because the people around you will judge your risks for what they were and what it could have been. And I feel like that dichotomy is really fun and really nice to explore in LARPs. So yeah, that's at least my little story about that.
I just going off the flaws talk, it reminded me of what I think is one of the coolest things about Twin Mask is that there are flaws in the rulebook. I had actually not played a Boffer LARP for a very long time. I was actually kind of like off. I found them a little off-putting for a very long time, and I got dragged into Twin Mask, or tricked into Twin Mask even. But when I started to develop this character, and I was like, oh, there's flaws you can pick. And these are kind of like they're the potential in them to role play and to really develop a meaty character right from like the start, being that oath bounded to something. Your word binds you to a person or a deed, or you're frail even. You're not going to be the toughest, strongest person out on the field of battle, but maybe you want to be really badly or something like that. I just thought that was so cool, and a big credit to that game.
I will ask, I feel like all of us but Ash have played Twin Mask so far.
I can never make it.
We will work out a way for that to
I'm
happen.
always working.
So, with that in mind, how many of you actually bought more floors than you're allowed? Because there was a limit. Once you get to 10 points of bonus experience by taking floors, if you get any more than that, you don't get the bonus, but you're allowed to take the floor. Quentin has their hand up.
I bought Oathbound because I play a knight. I bought Sovereign Zeal because I play an angry old Scotsman.
My favorite floor in the game.
It's the best game. So to briefly explain, it is essentially if someone insults your country, you have to defend it with such fervor and such passion that you essentially just defend your country's honor. And if you don't, you become so demoralized that you can't use skills for the next 30 minutes. It's the best flaw in the game. And then I took
That's so fun.
it's amazing. And then I took one of the memory flaws that was like the -4. I think it's fractured.
Fractured,
Yeah. So, that means that you essentially forget almost all of your past, except for, like, little bits and pieces. I mostly went over with Sovereign Zeal, because it's the best flaw in the entire game. It's such fun roleplay, but yeah, I went over my 10. Did you, Kai?
I did something remarkably similar to that as well, actually. And I definitely have Sovereign Zeal, because, when our group came in, as the Old Ravens, as a full noble house, we had a good 8 of us of different character concepts, ranging from like a baron and a leading lady to brothers, cousins, and even we had a few vassals and a handmaiden as our whole group. And when we came in, everyone came in with Sovereign Zeal.
I remember that being the meme, because I used to be in the group
Every single one of them,
I used to be in the group chat, and I just remember at certain points, people would just start screaming Sovereign Zeal into their microphones.
Zeal.
And it would just be like 12 different messages of just like people screaming Sovereign Zeal. It was the best thing I've ever heard.
Yep. And we didn't view that flaw as a flaw. We were like, that is a perk.
It's a uniting factor.
Yeah, so that was super fun, and I've absolutely, I believe in a previous podcast, I've talked about how that particular floor, I've gotten so used to role-playing that floor that I don't even think about it anymore. It's just perfectly blended into my character. If someone says any degree of, like, a negative comment against my character's house, he will immediately throw something back about how we are superior in some way, and he will not stop until he continues to get the last word in, which is awful if you meet someone else who has sovereign zeal, because it goes on forever.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Okay, the exact same thing for my character Shannon is that because it's just so fun to see an angry Scotsman. So someone would be like, "Oh, Kestrel's a bunch of drunk hillbillies," and then it's just from across the bar that I own, where I'm just like screaming about like, "We might be drunk hillbillies, but we have more heart than you will ever have," and they're just like suddenly so surprised this angry like 5-foot Scotsman is coming out of the bar like wobbling on their like trick knees.
So do you do a Scottish accent?
Oh, I do. I can display it here if you'd like.
I was actually Scottish at Cow 18
Oh my God.
for 4 days, and it was a little unnerving by the end of it. I was like, who am I?
Yeah. That's actually funny that you mentioned, because apparently there's an issue among our player base of the Kestrel Scots people where our accent is really prolific, and it's hard for people to not speak in a Scottish accent around us. So we'll be like, "Oh, welcome to the tavern, how are you doing?" And they're just like, "I'm doing great." Wait a minute.
It's infection.
That was
Best thing ever.
So we were in Poland, and I was Scottish for 4 days. And then we went to Berlin for like 2 days, and I just spoke German the whole time, which is a whole other weird place to put your brain. But then we went to Scotland, and then Northern England, and then Ireland. So by the end of that like 2-week trip, I was like, I don't know how I sound anymore.
What accent do I use?
Like my husband, by the end was just like, what are you saying?
You're like, "This is good, I like it very much." And you're like, "What?" Understandable.
Yeah, I think I love doing a dialect as well, like, because it just like anchors you into that character.
Oh yeah,
you know,
so easy. And going back to that sovereign deal, it's just so much more fun to scream at someone
With
about
a Scottish
Scott.
accent.
Yeah, it's just. I think it scares people more so than anything, because if I screamed at you, it's like, "Oh no, we have heart more than anyone." But if I'm like, "We have more heart than anyone around in the entire land," they're like, I'm sorry, what?
it's true. Yeah, they came up with a chant that was just because the whole time I was there, because if you're Scottish, you can just yell things.
Oh yeah.
And it was great. Like at Fireball, we'd like cheer, and I'd be like, "We're just cheering," and they're like, "Well, of course you're yelling. You're Scottish." I'm like, "Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is." But
It's not that we have an English issue. Nope, not here.
but yeah, I would just randomly go like, "Dinna ken, dinna kate," like all the time, and so people started yelling that at me, and it became a thing. But it's an identifiable mark just to be Scottish.
It's so beautiful.
Fractured, that was the memory flaw?
Yes.
That seems like such a great choice as well as for role-playing, because then you can just make shit up.
Yeah, I think my favorite memory flaw in Twin Mask is actually fading memory. And the next character that I'm coming in is going to have fading memory. Is because essentially you remember all of your entire life in the beginning, but over the course of the year, you will forget everything until you come back, until you just have the memories of when you came back to life. And I feel like that opens up some of the greatest opportunities, because you are essentially writing yourself to fail. Where your memories will fail you, you will just lose everything. And for people who are really entrenched in like family, forgetting who your parents' faces are has to be such a just absolutely destructive experience for you. And I think it would create some of the best roleplay that, people have seen. And I don't know if anyone really has fading memory, so I'm really excited to, like, just sink my claws into it.
I have to admit, I would be scared to roleplay that, because I keep thinking about people who have dementia and Alzheimer's, and it might hit a little too close to home.
If I recall, the floor means that you start to forget, because in Twin Mask you are returned. It's a little bit like Dark Souls. You've died once before, and you've been resurrected with magic, and after that your soul is kind of weird and can come back a number of other times. So when you start playing the character, all of your backstory slowly degrades and disappears over time, and your character can potentially become colder or just kind of forget about certain things. So you could have like people that you're really passionate about that you had in your past life, and you talk about them all the time, and then, you know, someone doesn't see you for a little bit, and they're like, oh, yeah, didn't you once tell me that story? And you're like, I don't know what you're talking about.
And it's a good point that you bring up dementia, because I definitely don't want to, like, I've had family members who have gone through that, and it's more so an homage to them to, like, try to, like, experience what they feel and try to relate on that instance, because it's so hard for people to be able to, like, get into that mindset and realize what that's like. And I guess that's, and it just, in a way for me, it's experiencing a new experience so I can try to relate to people, because I've gone through my great-great-grandmother, who was really close with me until, like, I was 13, until she passed away, had dementia, and it was really scary for, like, everyone around her to just constantly forget things. But going through that might help, like, it could also be detrimental to me. Who knows? I'm just trying things here.
Risks.
Risks, yeah. I'm going to try to represent that in a way that's not terrible. But
I have questions.
yes.
So you forget your backstory,
Yes.
not the current life.
No, yeah. So it's not like you're forgetting anything but just your backstory.
But to that point, if you, in this new life, told someone a story about something that happened in your past life, and you forgot the past life, but you remember your new life, wouldn't you remember telling the story?
That's supposed to kind of fade away. But there is a degree of tragedy to it where you remember that you should have other things, and there's just gaps.
Yeah. What I would roleplay it as is that you told the story, but you just, like, where the faces of the people are, or, like, the actions you're kind of blanking on. Like, you know you told the story, so it's got to be somewhat rooted in some kind of truth. You just can't remember that bit of it, which I think is almost, like, worse, because you're like, I remember telling the story. I remember remembering this, but now I don't. And I think that's just, like, a whole new level of absolute terror.
Yeah.
A neat way to explore something like that could be like having an object that you came into town in that is like you're well known. For example, Kai, your hat. Everyone knows this hat. I probably know the hat more than I know your character.
Okay.
And if you were to not have that hat for a game, but that hat was like just in the tavern, and you lost all memory that you ever had that hat. Like
it would freak people out.
Freak out, and they would, try to give it back to you, and for you to be like, I don't know what this hat is.
Well, I mean, you can't really get rid of that hat now, can you? There.
I mean,
I'm
trying to fix it because it's cursed right now.
The blood hat.
It's not a blood hat.
Oh, I thought it was the blood daddy hat or something.
No, it's like
Blood daddy.
it's cursed with Thetaspari magic. That's worse.
For those of you at home, Thetaspari is a bunch of bad news bears. Take ring wraiths and Nazguls and like make them 10 times scarier and 10 times worse, and they don't care anything about the rings of power. They just want to ruin your life. Like that's what Thetaspari is. Just
that is #accurate. #accurate. Because like a lot of what we like to do here at Live Action Roleplay is like try to make it at least a little bit instructional. What advice would you give for a new player or even an existing player on how do you embrace failure if they're afraid to or they don't know how? What would you tell them?
Maybe it's baby steps. Like try in a one-off, or like if you don't feel good about doing it at a LARP, try it in like a one-off tabletop where there's a lot less risk to having a character die or be terrible, so start off small and then move towards like bigger risks and bigger decisions, and just because it's like anything, the more you do it, the more you realize it's not that bad. It's actually really cool.
I would say make it worthwhile to lose. Make sure there's stakes involved that are really powerful. Like don't maybe be the person that's just gonna run out into the hordes and die every single time because they're failing at life, and like that you'll be surprised. Maybe you won't be surprised. Hopefully, you wouldn't be surprised how quickly that can get old and kind of even like disruptive for everyone else around you playing the game. And like, okay, go ahead, do your thing. All right, the rest of us, we're trying to accomplish something here. So just be be careful and make it worthwhile when you're at that level, when you're ready to start losing.
Yeah, I think piggybacking off of that is if you're gonna fail brilliantly, fail like you are a dying star that's about to supernova. Like if you're gonna go take that risk, just go ham on it. Go balls to the wall. Really just like try to really explore what that's gonna be like, and recognize that if you do fail, it's a learning experience and not something that should put you off from ever taking risks ever again. Because it's hard sometimes when you take a risk and it goes really poorly for you, and sometimes it doesn't end well. But it's just kind of like never give up. Just learn from it. Try again next time. Take a more calculated risk, maybe, and just keep seeing where it goes.
I think also being true to your character. Like, as long as you're being true to your character, I think risks are rewarding. If you're just doing it just to do it, then you're not actually role playing. So I think playing the role is the most important part.
Yeah. If anything, the interpretive of playing to win. I feel like people want to be successful. They want to, if they're a fighter, they want to be a good fighter. If they're magic users, they want to be good at magic. If they're good at politics, they want to be successful. People like to succeed, but more often than not, your characters are not necessarily defined by their successes. They're defined by the people that they surround themselves with. They're defined by their failures and how they handle those failures. They're defined by their flaws. And so I always encourage people to come up with, a vice for your character. Come up with, a few things that your character is biased towards and weak towards. Maybe they have a really soft spot for elves, and they always, if a pretty elf person flutters their eyelashes at them, they have that weakness, and they're like, absolutely, why did I do that? Or like have some biases where they're a little antagonistic, and you end up, check in with the person ahead of time, be like, hey, I'd like to get knocked around a little bit, but I'm not looking for, like, death here. But, like, my Scotsman character is definitely going to pick a fight with you big, tough, 6'5" Dreer. And I think it could be a really fun story to see me get bounced around. And remember that LARP isn't necessarily about trying to be the richest, baddest motherfucker around. It's about telling a story and enjoying that story with other people and involving other people.
I would say that if you're worried about your character's flaws, I would say build around your flaw first, so that you know that everything that you're doing will accommodate that flaw. If you're picking a flaw, like, say, for example, being blind in one eye, then if you know that you're dealing with that flaw, and then you're building everything else up around that, it'll actually feel more comfortable. It's like, oh, okay, this is the part where I'm weak. But another way to think about it is, like if you build a D&D character, right? Like, you might have an 18 in charisma, but you might have like a 6 in con. You cannot be good at everything, or I don't want to say you can't be good at everything, but what you can say is that in exchange for being ridiculously awesome in one thing, you're going to be matched and balanced with something that you're not good at, and that's just more fun.
Yeah.
To have.
It's not fun to overcome challenges if challenges are not challenging.
Also, when we talk about stories at afters, we don't always talk about all of the major victories. The ones that I remember years later are, oh god, I really screwed up at that one thing. And those are the stories I usually tend to remember more than, we all won this!
I have so many of those kinds of stories. They're so beautiful.
Yeah.
As a last thing, a friend of mine who's also on the Maze Arcana channel loves the catchphrase "roll for story," and it very, very much means just roll with it, go with whatever. If you get dealt a bad hand, try and work out a creative way where it can actually turn into something interesting for you. If you get kicked in the mud, make a story out of it rather than just moping. Yeah. Try to have fun with the story, because ultimately, whether your character becomes this badass epic king or ends up dying in a ditch somewhere, the important thing far more is your character having an important journey and you having a whole bunch of stories to tell about the journey. the destination is far less important when it comes to LARP. Sorry.
No. That's so much.
Yeah.
No, that's totally good to end with that. I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters that enable us to keep making what we're making. So especially to our fireballer like Talon Bowler, and then all our supporters such as Twin Mask, Geeky Tees, Aaron Ludlow, and Treasurer Kalafa. Thank you so much for supporting us, and especially to our listeners, because oh my God, we're on Spotify now.
Yay!
Yep.
That's insane.
So I can go home and ask my Google Home to play this, and it'll just play in my house.
Yes, you can.
Have it be your alarm to wake up. Just
I could do that.
wake up to Ryan's voice. I'm sure that's how you win. That's how you win at LARP. You just wake up to Ryan softly cooing in your ear.
Or going, and we are live! That's... And again, thank you to all of our listeners, for everyone who's been sharing our episodes, all of our guests here. Thank you for joining us
Thank you for
tonight.
having us.
Yes. So, where can people find you on social medias, and if they want to follow whatever projects you're working on?
The Uncommon Trust actually has a YouTube channel, which is just a bunch of playlists of all of the everything that we're on the stream. Watch Game the Game and How to Play. You can see me on Vampire Masquerade occasionally, which is fun. And Moonclad_Ash is my Twitter, and Astronaut44 is my Instagram.
All right, you can find me at Upstage the Riot with an underscore under each word on Instagram. You can find me Quentin Johnston on Facebook. And then if you want to follow anything that we're doing with Apocalypse 47, you can go ahead and check out that Facebook. I post there regularly, and you can go check out the game if you ever want to come play. It's fun. Recommend it.
I'm Kevin Pearl. That's one way to find me on the internet. KP_Pearl on Twitter, and KPearl7 for good luck on Instagram. So, yeah, always happy to talk about LARP.
I am Kai Norman, and you can find me on most of the interwebs as Yokai Props, because I like awful puns and other things.
I just got it.
Yep.
I've known you for a year, and I just fucking got it.
Yep. I also like to make like weird Japanese demon masks, so it's a double wonderful thing. I also am a part of the Inkwell Society that is on the Maze Arcana channel on Twitch. It also gets put up on the D&D channel as well on Wednesdays at 7 Pacific time. And I run another post-apocalyptic LARP that has a lot more of like a horror survival kind of zombie vibe called Dystopia Rising NorCal, which is up in Northern California and pretty fun. No ghosts.
No
just zombies.
We sound like a graveyard.
And I'm Ryan Omega. You could find me on Instagram and Facebook under Ryan Omega, under Twitter under Ryan OMGA. You could also find me on Dacian Brats playing Toshidor of Paloma, yes, related to the Twin Mask character Sicariel of Paloma, his long-lost ancestor who is very spoiled and basically Eric Cartman. It's fun.
Toshi.
And you can also find me on the Venture Ventures podcast, where I play Orson, Pig Farmer Warlock.
I have so many questions.
I bet you do! I don't know why I talk like that.
Did you make a deal with the Elder Pig? Is that what...
Yes!
Oh, that's creepy.
And I usually play Twin Mask. I usually play Kai's game in Dystopia Rising NorCal. Shout out to my friends at Lost Frontier. I can't make it out there this weekend, but love them very much. And that is all for today. Join us next time when we will be covering other podcast topics. We love you guys. Thank you so much. And bye!
Bye. Bye.